Now, coming on to the importance of hauling, why I feel that it is something that moves everything, and it plays a very important part in our whole economy. And everything that a player does, everything that we are able to accomplish is because there's some bit of hauling involved, whether it is you moving your own stuff, someone moving your stuff, alliances moving their fleet, everything, right? Even ganking happens because we move their stuff. So, we are ridiculous. So yeah, now coming on to types of haulers. I have divided them into three types of haulers. One is what the if you were present at the Oz's presentation,
they are the regional trader or trader haulers. These are the people who are moving stuff from one region to another, trying to figure out which regions make better profits for them. And to increase their margins, they basically move their own stuff. Yeah. And then second, we have industrial haulers. So if you saw the data set that the last CCP data team was sharing, Dell has a lot of movement of freighters and docking. So I think primarily that is because these are the haulers who are moving their production materials from one citadel to another. And that can be accomplished in freighters. So that can, so these are the people who are moving their own stuff from one production cycle to next, intermediate materials or whatever. And they fall into this industrial hauler category. And the finals are the professional haulers or the courier contract haulers, which we are, or which I am. So we basically cut across both of these play styles. If regional haulers feel that they can, take a dip in their margins for the safety that someone else taking the risk will provide, then they will use us, or they are basically people who will move anything for some ISK. Yeah. So they carry the highest risk, and they carry all the risk, and that's why they are rewarded for that. So yeah, this is so I think it's self-explanatory, but okay. What New Eden feels we do? We are these spaceship cargo haulers moving stuff from one place to another like a ship captain. What gankers feel we do? We just autopilot, or we have bots, or half of us are bots. What we think we do? So we think we are the Han Solo moving through this, moving through the treacherous New Eden, evading pirates, evading gankers, and then getting the stuff to where they are needed. What we actually do is we just watch Netflix on the other screen. So yeah, that's what we do. So now coming on to the main topic, how do you become a hauler? So maybe there is something that you find it interesting or you want to get into it. And these are the requirements that I feel are basic requirements to get into hauling. First is you need minimum of 2 accounts. I say that because it is EVE. If you use your hauler to move your stuff, you are going to get killed. So you need 2 accounts. The one will be your hidden one who accepts the contract, and the other one who actually moves the contract. So you subcontract it to your other pilot, so nobody knows who is your real freighter alt. Yeah? That's why you need 2. And the second one is that the one who accepts the contract can also scout ahead. And scouting is very important because ganking. And yeah, any ship type. So can be a hauling ship if you look at it, right? It can be Sunesis, which is a really good destroyer, which has the biggest cargo capacity. Very versatile ship and can be used for hauling in a way, but don't use it. And then, yeah, any ship which has an M3 can be moved, can be a hauling ship, but then there are specific hauling ships made in EVE which provide larger cargo capacities for the stuff which are big, and we'll get into that in a bit. And then collateral. You need collateral to cover the amount. If you're moving someone else's good, collateral is something that you will need so that you can cover the ISK or the risk from the person you are accepting the contract from. This can start from anywhere. If you're public hauling, it can start from, say, 10 million, 15 million, and go up to 300 billion for a gang contract. And then train the skills that matter for hauling. So there are very few skills that can help you move faster. So these will be your agility skills, your tanking skills, depending on the ship type you use. It can be shield tank or a, armor tank. Fuel and range, this is specifically for jump freighting. So if you are using, you need JDC jump drive calibration 5 to be most effective. And the other jump fuel conservation or jump freighter skills to optimize how much fuel you are consuming so that you don't get stranded in a null-sec system. And then speed. There are few skills that increase your subwarp velocity, and they also come in handy. So if you have trained these skills, then you are on your path to, you can start hauling in a way. Now coming on to public versus private hauling. This is something that is an everlasting debate that keeps on going. So CCP data team was kind enough to provide some data on this as well to us to see how much it actually is there. So I'll just delve into it. So if you look at the distribution of courier contracts, you will see that private contracts make up 3 times the volume. So this data set is for past 6 months, by the way. So from January to June 2023. Private contracts make up almost 3 times the number of public contracts that are out there across all 6 status. And that is contrary to the popular belief that public contracts are widely used. When I saw this data, I was surprised as well. And if you start breaking this down a bit, you will see that private contract distribution, how does it look like across 6 statuses? It can also give you a view into how accessible something is for EVE players, which can affect this distribution. So if you look at this, HiSec makes up 63% of all the private courier contracts being generated. 32% is nullsec, and then a very tiny bit in lowsec, which didn't show up because pie chart.
Sorry, final destination.
This is origin.
Origin.
Origin, yeah. Yeah, so HiSec and nullsec make up the bulk of the private courier contracts that are there. Nullsec, in a way, it is. I mean, it can explain by the fact that a lot of these big, huge alliances that you guys are part of have their own freight services that go from their region to the market hubs, and that is and since you can control the access of who docks in the stations and everything, it is their own folks who are doing the courier contracts. So it can make up a lot of private contracts. We are not able to decipher why private contracts and HiSec is such a big part of it. If you look at the public contract distribution, it is 92% of all the contracts being generated in HiSec is basically public contract. So yeah, so this is because, I mean, this can be explained that for haulers, if you see, HiSec is the most accessible place. You can go anywhere you want, and that is why it shows that 92% of those contracts that are there are really accessible to a lot of haulers. But if you start moving to lowsec, which is still again accessible, but it is a bit harder to get into, it makes up a small percentage of it, and then it completely dies off in nullsec. So yeah, public hauling is more predominant in HiSec, if you can say that. Choosing the right hauling ship. So once you have decided you want to either go with a private hauling or public hauling, you want to choose the right ship type, yeah? So this is my cheat sheet that I'll not go through each of these, but I'll just quickly tell you that, oops, sorry. I'll just quickly tell you, interceptor destroyers are a good starting ship if you want to try hauling. They are low tank, very low tank. They can be smart bombed on your way from going through Amazon. Worst system. Cargo value they can carry is really high. A lot of people use what do you say? Move their BPCs and BPOs in interceptors or Sunesis. And it is really safe ship, but if it is in high sec, it is really safe in a way. Cargo capacity is limited, so if you see, Sunesis has the highest one, that is 600 M3, whereas if you use interceptors, you get 100, 150 M3, which is very less. Speed, very high, so when I talk about speed, it is basically moving from point A to point B. They can move at very high velocities. Blockade runners are a bit upgrade or a starting level safest ships to move high value cargo. And then deep space transport is again, or DSTs, again are very good ships. So they have a limited, cargo value, because you don't want to carry a lot of stuff into low sec or a null sec system. I do have the destruction data for all of these, so we'll just go through all of these quickly, how safe they can be in a specific system.
Sorry, you categorize cargo capacity of a deep space transport the same as a J freighter. Medium. Yeah, I'm also.
That's like
So that is, yeah, I messed up.
I just wanted to make sure that
No. So this goes to 62,500 M3 at the maximum, and that is 360,000. Yeah, I need to work on that. I'll share the updated one.
for people who don't know how it works to understand that that's actually high.
Yeah.
I would say the jump rate is high.
Jump rate is high, yeah.
No, I'm not very pedantic.
No, I think I had updated it, but this is probably the old version. But I'll share the updated one. Yeah, and then jump freighters are the fastest ship that can go around from point A to point B because they have jump drives. So something like in a freighter, if you move from Jita to Amar through high-sec system and don't take any shortcuts through Amazon, you will reach there in 2 hours. And whereas if you use a jump freighter, you can probably reach there in 20 minutes. That's how fast it is. So yeah, you can use this if you want to try to figure out which ship type to use, you can use this. And then if you look at public versus private contract, one or the other thing is the failure rate, right? How much risk is involved in all of these. So let's look at private contracts first. So 2% of all the private contracts have been failed. So the data that we were provided doesn't say whether it was ganged or it was failed because the item inside was valuable for the person. So we don't have that clarification, so we are just clubbing it all under the gank and thinking it's mostly gank. So if you look at it, 2% of all the private contracts are getting failed in past 6 months. So that is almost 7,000 contracts. And if you look at the distribution of this 2%, where it goes, 1.9% is high sec, 4.8% is low sec, and 2% is null sec. So that is the distribution of those 7,500 contracts. And if you look at public contracts, 2.6% is the failure rate, which is 2,564 contracts of the 90,000 contracts that are made in the last 6 months. And the distribution of this looks like something like this. So if you see at it, public contracts are something that is, if you post it on public haulers channel, something good and rewarding will get quickly snatched up, but then the risk involved are very high in a way, relatively. So people are competing, like there's a high competition, there's lower rewards because public contracts are generally paid lower than what you can get in private contracts. And the risk you carry is a lot higher. So when you try to choose between if you want to be a public hauler or a private hauler, that can be something, this can be a good indicator to look at it that way, to gauge the risk and reward. And now I just wanted to give you a reference point on how it looks like with one of the bigger, like Wushex, Red Frog, or a bigger hauling corporation. How does these failure rates look like? And our data is basically gank rates, what our gank rates look like. So for high sec, it is 0.42%. For low sec, it is 0.23%. And null sec, it's 0%. So not bragging, but yeah. This is against our own data of how much contracts we get. Yeah, on that. Hauler destruction. So my friend Z was able to scrap through all the Zkill data to give us some of the data that I'm going to show you around ship destruction and a hauler ship destruction. One caveat with this is all the destruction that is posted on Zkill. So a lot of the gankers try to hide it by not providing the APIs to their kills to Zkill, and sometimes the haulers don't want to be shamed, so they don't post their kill on Zkill. So unless it is not on Zkill, it's not shown up here. So high-sec hauler ship destruction, how it looks like across the 4 categories, that is the blockade runner, DST, jump freighter, and freighter. If you look at it, DSTs and blockade runners make a very big part of the ship destruction. And I don't know if this one has a laser pointer.
6 months again.
This is the last 6 months, yeah. From January to June, and then July, because we wanted to look. And because we wanted to look at how does it look like with Lancers coming into the picture. So if you see, for freighters specifically, it starts picking up in May. It almost doubles the number of kills. This is because safety was trying to do a lot of ganking in high-sec, and and there was only one person who does it. So it just spiked, and then he slowly is burning out, or I don't know. So it's on a downward trend. But if you see jump freighters, they were not making up that much of kills in high-sec. In June, it suddenly spikes up to 57 kills, which is almost 5 times the number of kills that usually happens. This is, again, because that specific player started killing jump freighters in Jita. And then it again dwindles off because killing jump freighters in high-sec requires a lot of DPS, a lot of planning very initially, because you don't get much time to prepare if a freighter is coming through a certain system. It is usually 3 or 4 jumps before you need to figure out is it worth taking or ganking them or not, unless they are autopiloting. So yeah, this is what it looks for high-sec, and this is what it looks for low-sec. So if you see, again, DSTs and blockade runners make up a very big part of the ship kills, almost 300 to 400 kills every month. And again, freighters, I don't know why they are in low-sec, but they are there. And they make up 40 to 50 kills every month. And jump freighters, if you see, it has started picking up from June to July. And I think it has, and now it will pick up more. This doesn't show Lancer kills. I'm yet to check if it does. I don't think it shows Lancer kills. But with Lancers, it's very tricky because they don't show up on Zkill specifically. The people are trying to hide it. And that's why I think this is this regular, all the jump freighter kills that are happening. And it has started picking up, and I think it's a lot more higher right now with all the risk involved. And the another thing is that's a kind of, if I can say, a ripple effect that is happening is if they're not getting killed in low-sec, you will see them trickle down to high-sec. It is because the entry points to these high-sec systems have been cut down a lot because now you cannot use stations that are very far away from the gates, right? You need to either have your own citadels near the grid, or you need to have an empty system. And so a lot of gankers have started getting into these choke points that are good systems to get into high-sec. And you will see if they are not happening there, they will if they are the targets, they will happen over there. Now, coming on to why pros and cons of public hauling and private hauling. So if you look, there's no commitment required when you become a public hauler, right? You can, it's like a switch. If you feel like it, you go out and haul accept someone's contract and just go out and haul. And if you don't feel like it, you don't need to haul. If you can go months without hauling, you can haul every day. If you look at the other one, which is the choose any ship type. So once the contract is accepted, what ship type you use to get that delivery done doesn't matter till the time the delivery is made. And even if you lose that ship, and you have covered it through collateral, the person who has made the contract doesn't loses anything. So you can use any ship type. There's no standard operating procedure that you need to use this specific ship types. Yeah, no SOPs. And you build your own brand. So you say you are into it for a long time. So someone like a Moonpire, if you guys know him, he has made his own brand by evacuating fraternity out of, or was it fire? Fire. Yeah, he evacuated fire and moved like 20, he has 20 RIAs, so he just moved a lot of stuff for them. And he has built a brand around evacuation for large nullsec alliances. And that is how you can make your own brand if you're doing your own thing. And that is one of the pros of public hauling. And you get to keep what you earn. You don't need to share it with anyone. So that's the good part. Cons. So if you look at the cons, it is you have to figure out everything on your own. You have to go through a lot of stuff as EVs. You have to read through a lot of articles, best practices around hauling. You have to read through all of those. And then you have no access to sophisticated tools. So shortly after some time, I'll show you what tools we use at PushX. And those have been built across last 10 years. So very sophisticated tools that helps us keep our sanity. But if you are someone getting into hauling, you don't have any access to sophisticated tools. You use contract windows mostly to figure out what contracts to pick up. Are they gang contracts or not? You have to figure everything out on your own. Higher risk with lower reward. So if you looked at the last destruction charts, if you looked at how much competition is there for the limited number of amounts of public contracts that are out there, as Oz said, it doesn't make a lot of sense. The risk reward doesn't make a lot of sense. Too much competition for good contracts. And then lack of standardization in a way that you don't have a volume limited systems in place. So 360,000 M3 of materials can be moved in a jump freighter as well as a freighter. So you are free to use anything. So there's no standardization of what ship type to use for what. Private hauling. Pros. Good money to be made. Really good. It is very good money. I mean, if you want to try it and want to join private hauling corporations, they make tons of money. I think, I don't know. PushX in last 10 years has a total reward of 15 trillion or more. I don't know. And then access to sophisticated tools, access to private structures. So a lot of private haulers, if you're in an alliance and you're goons, you have your Amazon structure that you can use to get into JITA, which is really safe. It is 1,000 kilometers of the grid. So if you are part of a big corporation or a big alliance, you get to have access to structures that where otherwise you would be using NPC stations, which are a lot more scarier. Yeah. So that makes hauling a bit safer. Years of knowledge on private wikis. There are there's a lot of small details when you are hauling, apart from the big ones, that you need, the small nuances that you need to keep in mind so that you are more safer than the general haulers. And these are, in a way, walled behind a lot of these private wikis that they have, the knowledge has been accumulated over a long period of time. Yeah, that is the wrong one. You don't keep what you want. This is, again, an outdated one. Minimum required hauling. So if you are part of a private courier contract group, you need to keep certain minimum activity to not be kicked out. Because at the end of the day, if the goal is to do as many courier contracts as possible, then you need to be actively doing it. Stringent interview process to join. So I don't know about RFF, but at PushX we have a very huge interview Google forms that you need to fill out before you join us. And it takes an hour to fill it out. So it's very, we basically want you to know what you're doing. We're not there to train you. And that is how it works. Because people trust us with moving their goods from point A to point B. We cannot be teaching them how to do it. So public hauling can be a good start to get into it. And once you get a vibe of it and you want to stick around and want to start making money, then probably private courier contracts or something. Waiting times to join can be high. Red Frog has a 6 months waiting time. So yeah, if they are filled up to capacity, and normally freighting is something that scales up the more amount of alts that you can add. So because it's one-click action per system in a way, so it scales up if you have more freighters and you start making more money. So that way, it's a demand-supply thing. You're getting a number of contracts. You have enough people who can control that amount of or move that amount of stuff. Then they don't need additional people coming in and taking the contracts away, right? So waiting times can be a bit high. It'll give you a percentage of earnings after tax. So for PushX, it is 3% that we need to give as tax every week that we earn to the corporation. And for Red Frog, it is 10 to 15%, including the insurance. So they also provide insurance. So if you lose your stuff, they will reimburse you the whole money. We don't. You are a small cog in a machine. So at the end of the day, you join them, you move the stuff, and you move out. So someone like me, I came here, I'm talking about hauling, and then maybe I'll move to a different alliance, different corporation. But you guys will remember that PushX did a presentation, right? So we are all a small cog in a machine. Our CEOs keep changing. Our CEO changed in the last 2 years. He was there for the last 8 years, but you guys don't remember him. Nobody does. We also sometimes forget. So at the end of the day, we are all working for a brand. We don't work for ourselves. Whatever we do reflects on what we are trying to build as an alliance, as a corporation. So at the end of the day, you are a small cog in a machine. First ever sneak peek into our tool. I don't know how many of you have seen our tool, but this is something that we have built over last 10 years. It keeps on getting upgraded. I'll just quickly walk you through what it can do. So it automatically segregates the contracts that comes to us based on their type. So if it is a large jump freighter contract, it will get categorized as jump freighter. If it is a standard, it will get categorized as standards. And the rush contracts, which are the, what do you say, the Amazon rush, I don't know, one-day delivery thing, that gets segregated on the top. That is how it works. It helps pusher keep track of their in-progress contracts. So if you see up there, there is an in-progress tab. So it helps you keep the track of what contracts you have in progress. You have accepted those. What is the number of time left to deliver those? Where does the expiration looks like, and everything like that. PIR also helps you find contracts en route. So if you're moving from JITA to Amar, you don't necessarily move into a deadhead without any cargo. It can that you find something in RENS to pick up. So our PIR, our software will basically tell you that there's something in RENS that you can pick up while going to Amar. So it helps you min-max the amount of money you can, and contracts you can do and the money you can make. Internal leaderboards for pushers. So weekly we'll show you who are the top pushers who are moving a lot of stuff around, and how many contracts they have finished, and you can see the whole leaderboard on our the main page. It helps you send completion contract to our customers. So if you might have used any PushX services, you might have gotten a completion email that states that your stuff has been moved by this pusher. We used to have it that you need to click on that email thing, and then it gets the mail gets sent out. But now I think we have automated that as well. So we constantly keep working on it. Helps you keep track of your bonus payout. So we have a bonus payout system. I'll not go into that. If you join us, I'll let you know. But it helps you keep track of how much bonus you are earning in a week. That is apart and above above what you earn as a pusher, like from the rewards. Helps you set up route. So if you see, we have a router system there, and that is one of the best part about it, that it doesn't work with the in-game router system. We have built our own router database within our software, which helps you make routes much better and then export it to in-game. So you can just quickly make routes in here, avoid whatever you want to avoid, go wherever you want to go, and then export it to game. So it helps you be more efficient. Filter out the contracts for your needs. So if you see, there's a queue filter over there, which can help you. So say, for example, your freighter has a 848,000 M3 capacity. You are filled up to 800,000. Now there's only 48,000 left. You put in the volume 48,000. You put in the collateral that you have left. And then it will figure out all the contracts that you need that you can take up while going wherever you are headed. Check cargo values in an instant to Janus. So if you see the links tab over there, which is basically hyperlinks to every useful website and articles, it will take you to Janus, where you can put anything you want as a, appraise the cargo value that you're moving. And then you can see if it is over collateral or someone has just put in, been smart and put the lower collateral value for moving the stuff. And much more. So this is just the tip of the iceberg of what this software can do. It's a lot more sophisticated than this. And if you ever decide to join us, it will be a great experience hauling with this tool. It makes life much more easier and helps us keep our sanity. How to spot gang contracts? So if you look at it, you have decided between private contract, public contract. You have decided ship type to use. You have decided that you want to get into hauling. And now you want to figure out how to find out gang contracts or scam contracts. And they can be really pain in the ass. So they will be very lucrative for the effort. So something like Jita to UA Dama. Say it's a 5 billion-esque collateral, it's 500 million reward. Oh, that sounds good. So you might just think, oh, I can deliver it. It's just 6 jumps, 7 jumps. Extremely high collateral. Or it can be something like Jita to Shera. You guys know that the adjacent system to Amazon. And then it will be, so it goes through Amazon, so it's gonna die. So you might think it's 6 jumps, and then you accept it. It's very high collateral. You pay the collateral, and then if it dies, the issuer gets the money back. So if you see something that is very lucrative and sounds too good to be true, which is true with the Eve, don't take it. Freighter-sized contracts in high-sec islands. So if you guys know what high-sec island is, it is a system of high-sec islands that is connected or that will need to go through a low-sec system to reach to that high-sec island. So a lot of what people do is they create contracts. I think incursion runners have these high-sec islands sometimes. So what basically will happen is they will need to go through low-sec system to reach that high-sec. And once you have accepted that contract, there's no other way. So if they are freighter-sized, you will need to move it in a freighter. You cannot move it anything else. So it will be like 5 billion collateral, and its PI materials worth 100 million. So you can't do anything. Private structures. This is my biggest concern, is that docking accesses or ACLs can be switched in an instant. I don't like this. What happens is that once you accept the contract, even if it's a private contract or a public contract, but in a high-sec system, what will happen is they will accept the contract, and then they will switch the docking rights off to that structure. But now I think there's also called delivery boxes that you can put it in the delivery box. But again, it's a very tedious process. So if you're standing there in a freighter in a 0.5 system, very high chances that you might get ganked. Check past contract history of the people who are making these public contracts, the very lucrative ones. So if you see a lot of failed contracts, then there's something fishy going on over there. Because if a person's the issuers, lot of past history are failed contracts, that basically means that something wrong is happening in that area. Contracts not being picked up for some time. So if you see something that is not picked up by anyone in a long time, then there's something going on over there. Yeah, that's the biggest indicator. Like if you see something like contract that is not being picked up for with a 500 million reward, not being picked up for past 7 days, then yeah, if people are not touching it, don't touch it. So best practices as a hauler. So autopiloting is just asking for it to be killed. Don't do it. I would suggest, even if it is boring and you're looking at the screen for a long time, for 2 hours, you're just hitting one button. CCP needs to update that. I talked to a lot of people. But yeah, if you're looking at one screen for 2 hours and just making one action every system, it gets boring, but do not autopilot. It's very risky, and gankers get a lot of time to set up because you're landing 15 kilometers off gate and you're moving at sub 100 M3 speed, meters per second, sorry, speed, and then they get a lot of time to scan you, and then if you are worthy enough or they are bored enough, you're dead. So always scout and use intel tools. So there are a lot of free intel tools available. You have gank intel channel in game. You have gate camp checker that is out of game. You have zkill out of game. You can use these tools to figure out if the route you're going to is safe enough, how safe enough it is, when to move your stuff. Yeah, so that will help. Have John Wick's focus. You need to be very focused because with scouting, a lot of gankers are now, so if you know there's a stream that runs 24/7, Uedama Scout. So gankers are now trying to get around it by moving out of the regions that, or the systems that have eyes in. So if you're moving your stuff and you are seeing Uedama Scout, you will see that there's no one in the system. It's empty, for example. And then they will basically be hiding in the next, so for Uedama, it will be in Kubinin. So it's a nearest low-sec system. They will just hide there, so they will not show up on any of the streams. Your scout will not check the low-sec system because it's the least expected system for the gankers to come in from. And then suddenly when your freighter jumps in, you will have 20 bombers in front of you. And they move really quick. So you need to keep looking around, and you need to be very active when you're scouting, trying to figure out what potential places can the gankers come from. Yeah. Fleet up, this is basically for webbing. So if you are in a Uedama or in a very tight spot system, you can web out if you want to. And webbing is again a different concept. I have not covered it in here. But if you are moving from point A to point B, if you are fleeted up, it's more easier to see where your freighter is and then web them. Shortcuts in. No shortcuts. It should be no shortcuts. Don't take shortcuts. If you take shortcuts, it's again asking to be killed. Prime example, someone moving from Jita to Amar and taking Abazon. So don't take it. Don't be a loot pinata. So if you see there are some zkill contracts that have 13 billion in freighter getting moved. CCP Aurora told me yesterday she moved 13 billion in a freighter. And I was like, don't do that. So if someone is moving 13 billion in a freighter or 15 billion in a freighter, 10 billion in a freighter, the risk rewards gets completely skewed because the people who are trying to make that or trying to kill you will have a very good time and they don't have much of risk. I'll just quickly start going through a lot of these because I think I have to cover a lot. Dual invitations, don't accept, have it off by default. In your general settings, there's a way to turn off dual invitations. Have it off on your freighter, not on your Weber. Cloak plus MWD is your friend in DST. Always use it if you are in an empty system. If you are in a system filled with a lot of people, always use it. It will keep you safe, and it's one of the best practices. And follow your gut. So a lot of time I have been saved by following my gut. You will see this empty slashers sitting on the on a gate, and you are not paying attention. They will just scan you, passively scan you, and there's no way to tell that apart from seeing the animation that happens with it, that they have scanned you, and you wouldn't know that. So unless you're paying attention, you wouldn't know that you have been scanned and you have been picked up as a target. So follow your gut. Sometimes it just feels that I should not go through this system at this time. Just don't do it. Gankers are evolving. So suicide ganking. As I said, the scanners are being replaced by bumping and scanning materials. So scanners are very, if you see at them, you will see that they are just sitting there and they just scan everything that passes through. So it becomes more giveaway. So what they have started doing is they have started using bumping materials. Bumping was nerfed, right? Now there's a 3-minute warp-off timer on bumping. But what they are doing is when they're bumping you, the materials will scan you. And if you are worthy enough of being ganked, the fleet will come in and they will kill you. Hiding in the nearest low-sec system, I think I covered this. Using bombers instead of catalysts. Bombers have really high application for the capital ship classes. So and they are a lot more agile. So if they are hiding in a system, they can easily move 2 to 3 systems while the time you get into the gank system. So your scouts will be out of place, your webbers might be out of place, and it gives them a lot of time and agility to gank you. Ganking lancers have brought in a huge change to the jump rating meta. They are hiding lancers because they lance it. It can't warp. They get scrammed by the fleet, and then the lancer takes a 20-minute timer. The kill mail refresh timer. They will hide for the next 20 minutes. They will keep the scram on, and then they will reship, and then they will kill you. So they don't show up on Z-kill. So we don't know how much impact they are making in the overall system. Reshipping to hide the impact of lancers is something I talked about, and using Citadel gate fighters to decloak ships at gate camps. So if you see, there are a lot of ships, citadels that can project fighters to the gate, and when they set up the gate camps in low sec, they will have these fighters orbit the gate, so that when you jump into the system and try the MWD plus cloak trick, it takes 10 seconds before you warp off the grid. But the fighters that move with their MWDs, they are so fast, they will decloak you, and then the fleet will catch you. So yeah, that's something that they're there. So now, courier contracts. Yeah, this is for the customers. So if as someone who is making a contract, always use the 100 to 110 collateral rule. Always insure your stuff. In your insurance, having a collateral is your insurance that if something goes wrong, you get your stuff back. So these are all from now the hauler point from a customer point of view. So if you're making a contract. Collateral is paid by the hauler, not you. So if someone reaches out to you and says, oh, can you return me my collateral after a delivery? Don't do that. They already get it back. So no actual hauler will ask you for your collateral to be returned after delivery. It's a scam. So haulers have one way to scam. So set right reward. If you choose a reward very low, it might not get picked up. If you put it very high, it will get picked up. But then you're giving more money for that thing. So how much you reward the haulers really depends if you will see your stuff in the station that you want to by the next play session. Public reward calculator. So you have haulers channel. They have they have a lot of links, a lot of resources to figure out how much to reward if you are using a public contract. Private haulers have their own channels. They have their own calculators, which will show you how much certain things will cost you to move stuff. And there's Eve Hauling Advisor. That's a what do you say? A website which basically compares your stuff that you want to move across all the private haulers and tell you which one is the cheapest. I think you guys already know this. Customers, finding right haulers. So if you see customers' point of view, finding the right haulers. If you are a public hauler or creating a public contract, you will have wide availability of haulers who are ready to accept the contract for the right price. You have to pay lower costs, so you're paying bit less than what you are paying to a private contracts, and it supports new players. So if anybody wants to start into hauling, public contracts are the most accessible ones. So you are helping a new player get into that, get into the hauling aspect of Eve. So that helps with that. But the cons are that you don't know if it's a day one player going to accept your contract or a veteran who has been doing it for past 10 years. You don't have control over that. So it might be that you might just lose your stuff, or it might be that it will get delivered safely. Reward-based sorting. So a lot of public haulers who are doing contracts, they will sort it by rewards. So the first reward, the highest reward, will get picked up first, and then it trickles down. So if you have put it at lower reward, it will take some time. But it will get picked up. I've heard that it does get picked up. Little to no communication. So if your stuff gets delivered, you will not receive a completion email. If it gets stuck somewhere, you will not receive a completion email. So till the time the stuff has to be delivered, it will not show up, or there's no communication. So with private contracts, you get reputation and trust. A lot of these private hauling corporations have been going on for past 10, 15 years. So they have trust. And you are basically paying for the reputation and trust that your stuff will get moved safely. You are paying for the expertise that they bring onto the table, that they know what they're doing. And then there's a good customer service, really good. Across the spectrum, I think if you reach out to any of these private courier contracts, they will help you set up the contract. They will help you figure out what to do for your specific scenario, and it's really good. Cons is it's costly, a bit more costly than what you would see on public contracts. Peak time delay. So sometime it is, earlier we had this where we were so cheap that the guy in Amar used to mine everything, like the ice, compressed ice, and then move it to Jita. So we would get 50 contracts fully loaded from Amar to Jita. So it really clogs up our system, and we need to have a lot more people moving that stuff. But now we have made it more expensive, so they don't use us. Because we want to manage what we want to do, and moving compressed ice is not something we want to do. And lack of personalization. So you have to fit in with our limits that we have on our websites, that we have on setup, that if certain contracts will not be moved if it is a jump freighter. Say, for example, someone tells us, why don't you use a freighter to move my stuff? We can't do that. If it is going to low-sec, and it is above, say, 60,000 M3, we will use a jump freighter. I mean, we'll not use a DST or a blockade runner for that. So you don't get to personalize the requests that much. But if you have something like, say, I want to move 500 billion ISK of stuff, can you guys do it? We'll definitely do it. We just moved a keep star, so. Sorry? Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, this is almost done. This is, yeah, so this is what happened. So this is the trust and reputation you're paying for. Someone created a contract, and they did a 29 billion reward for a 600 million collateral, which is not happening, right? So we reached out to them saying that you have made a wrong contract. We have rejected your contract. Would you like to remake it? And that was their response. Yeah. So you're paying for that trust. You're paying for that reputation that the corporation has built. At the end of the day, everyone is a hauler. Public, private, doesn't matter. You are hauling and supporting the EVE economy. And this is a small video that we have made. And this is basically from all the screenshots that we have captured during one of our competitions, internal competitions. So you get to, so we have a lot of time, so we take a lot of good screenshots. So, so yeah, this is what it is. you so much. So yeah. So yeah, it is shared. We are all part of the single economy, single universe, trying to get stuff from point A to point B for everyone and get this whole New Eden economy moving in one way or another, enabling the fights, enabling everything. So yeah, that's us. If you have any questions, if you have any questions. We don't have. So if you find me anywhere, you can ask me. That's fine. I'm sorry I overshoot the time.